Training's better. Training's better.
If you can get your body on that consistent schedule of when you're going to bed, when you're waking up, it learns and if it knows that you're going to give it sleep every night, then it doesn't have to feel sleepy and crave the naps throughout the day because it knows that that's coming. And when you're sleeping at the right time at night and you're getting that consistent schedule, then your body can allocate the right amount of resources for your mind to repair and for your body to repair. So there's those pieces, but we also want to be able to shut off our brains. We want to make sure, it's not saying the technology is bad, but we're using it in ways that are helpful. Yep. We want to associate our bed with that rest and with sleep. So there's a lot of those core pieces, that consistency of the schedule, when we're eating, what we're doing, how that whole process is working, that it's good that we can take back control over it instead of feeling so helpless.
I think we shifted out of tools to get back to sleep a little quick. So go through two or three.
Other than emptying the dishwasher.
Yeah. Jason's not.
Other than doing any
Jason's
work
not anxious
whatsoever.
to do anything other than get back on the phone.
Well, the whole point is that if you're finding that you're awake and you really feel like you can't fall back to sleep, we don't want to lie in bed and just will ourselves asleep, because that's not going to work. And we're just going to get more and more frustrated, and we're going to focus on the fact that we're not going to sleep. So doing things like the writing, and it's not formal journaling, it can be bullet points. Some people like to draw, but something that just helps to focus the mind and take the pressure off having to fall back to sleep is an option. We say do something boring. The reason I use the example of empty the dishwasher or fold the laundry is I don't want you to be doing something that's going to wake your brain up. So I don't want you to be like, well, great, now is when I'm going to pay my bills, or when I'm going to check my email and start reading this, work brief or whatever it is.
Low stimulation.
Correct. Now, if you are going to watch TV or you are going to read or do some of those other things, you would want the TV on, but further away, low lights. We wouldn't want to be doing that in bed. Ideally reading a book versus our devices. If it's on the devices, put it in night mode, by the way. Black background with white lettering. You see how bright it is with a white screen? When you have the black, it's emitting less light. So we can do things to distract the brain, but things like the PMR will work. Also, a lot of individuals would do things called grounding exercises. So those are strategies that help the brain to refocus away from whatever is keeping it up and kind of help it to be a bit mundane. That's why counting sheep was something that people used to do a lot of, but now you can do that rotely. Okay, 1, 2, 3, you start thinking about something else. So do something that engages the brain slightly, like take 143 and subtract 17. And then subtract 17 again. You get down to 129 and your brain had to engage and think a bit. Or trying to come up with, what are 10 European capitals or 10 types of apples or berries or different things that engage the brain enough, but not something that's work related that triggers emotion and gets you woken up like that. And then what are some of the other things that you can do through that pattern? For some people, is it that, you had the process of washing your face, brushing your teeth, but are there a couple things that you did before bed, whether it was stretching or things like that trigger the brain to know that it's time to sleep again?
Got it. So what things, I know this isn't our problem, but it could be somebody's or one of our clients, but you talk a lot about sleeplessness and all the things you can do to help fall asleep or get back to sleep. But when would somebody know that maybe they had a more serious issue around sleep?
Sure, great question. Sleep apnea is a big one. And so there's kind of sleep apnea and also sleep problems in general. What I will first say is if you are that person that you're sleeping through the night, maybe you're not even waking up a bunch, but you are still always feeling tired, that's going to be a big indicator because your sleep isn't working for you anymore. You have somebody that's eating all the meals and they still feel hungry. They have a really high metabolism. We need to figure out what's going on with how their body is either processing it or not absorbing it. So if you have somebody that's sleeping through the night and you're still feeling exhausted, that's step one. We need to figure out why your body isn't using sleep correctly. We have a lot of people, if you are told that you're snoring, that's going to be an indicator that there is the reason that you're snoring is there's something that is obstructing the air from getting into your lungs. So it could be that you're congested. It's allergy season. It could be that you have other issues and sleep apnea. So that would be a check. Also is your waking up patterns. So for instance, for an indicator for sleep apnea, I'll have a number of clients that'll come into my office and say, doc, I sleep really well for the first 2, 3, 4 hours. And then I'm finding that I'm up every hour and a half. Well, because what's happening is they're waking up the first cycle of sleep, there's no REM sleep.
Sure.
So, but when they're getting into REM sleep, now their body is waking them up because it's saying, I need to breathe. I need you to breathe. And so if you're seeing that pattern where you sleep really well for a few hours and then you keep waking up, that could be another indicator that you could potentially have sleep apnea. Here's the thing. Going in and getting a sleep study doesn't automatically mean that they're going to make you wear the machine and they're going to make you do the CPAP. So many people don't want to go and do it because they're like, then they're going to put me on this. I'm not going to use it. Or they don't want to go into the lab. Now you can do an at-home sleep study. And that's also a really great option, is that you can do it in your own bed and still get the general information from it. Once you find out if you have sleep apnea, if that is the case, then we can figure out, is it mild, moderate, or severe? And that's going to change the different treatments that people can do. From working with, and if you're going to work with dentists on it, I always recommend using somebody that's been boarded by the AADSM, the American Academy of Dental Sleep Medicine, because they've gone through years of training to specifically know how to do adjustments and such for that. There are lots of treatments that people can do there. CPAP machines obviously are a great gold standard, but not everybody can tolerate it. So I just don't want people to basically be deterred from doing that to figure that piece out. If you have folks that are having the restless leg and a lot of the movements, folks with chronic pain, there are a number of those things that also are disrupted. And unfortunately, we do see pain rates higher at night because with melatonin increasing and cortisol decreasing, we see changes in inflammation and such. So there's things with even adjusting the pillows so that your spine can be aligned and other pieces as well. But with more of the severe sleep things, it's looking at those sleep patterns that can be a big part of it.
Makes sense.
Also, your heart rate variability. If you see it spiking a lot and you see the higher heart rates, if you're doing the trackable devices while you're sleeping, we'll see a lot of that during REM sleep if you have a lot of stress currently going on, because your brain is trying to process through what it didn't get the time to do during the day. So if you start to see those spikes, then that also is an indicator that we want to maybe look at treating some of the stress and the anxiety that could be potentially reducing your ability to get restful sleep. And that's why you're feeling more tired when you're waking up. We haven't talked a ton about the stress and anxiety and burnout, but that does play a big role, because if you're higher levels of that, your body isn't going to let you rest because that's considered a more vulnerable state where you can't protect yourself as well.
Right.
More on
Jason?
your list, Jason.
We could go all day.
I know.
I love this stuff's fascinating, though.
It is.
You know,
it is. And
because-
finally, we'd like to thank Amundi Pioneer for sponsoring this podcast and our time with Dr. Milanak.